The email came at 2:13 a.m. 7 years. Not a word, not a trace. And then, subject, reconnection opportunity. Her name sat there like a stain that wouldn't come off. Clara Mitchell. Back then, it used to make my heart race. Now, it only made my fingers still. I didn't open it immediately. I just stared at the screen, the way you stare at a dead animal on the road, not out of pity, but because you need to make sure it's really dead. Outside my office window, the city slept beneath a thick, indifferent fog. Inside, the only light came from the monitor. Blue, sterile, judgmental. I just finished reviewing quarterly reports. Numbers, progress, profit. Everything she once said was getting in the way of us. I clicked. Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I really need help. Things haven't been great. I heard your company's doing well. If there's a position open, I'd be grateful. Clara. I leaned back. A faint smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. She wanted a job. 7 years ago, she walked out saying she needed to focus on her career. I guess she finally did. And so did I. Back then, I believed her. She'd stood by the doorway, suitcase half-zipped, saying she couldn't be the woman who stayed behind while I became someone else. I told her I understood, but I didn't. She left with words like ambition, independence, and self-discovery. Words that sounded noble when spoken through guilt. I spent the first few months calling her, then emailing, then not at all. Silence has a way of teaching you hierarchy. Who mattered more? Rumors trickled in. A conference in Berlin. A startup in Singapore. Then whispers about her mentor. A man twice her age, married, well-connected. I buried myself in work, built something from nothing. Every deal, every sleepless night, every sacrifice carried her echo. People said success is the best revenge. They were wrong. Success is just the weapon. Revenge is how you use it. I didn't reply to her email. Not yet. Instead, I checked. Her name popped up on LinkedIn. Bare, desperate. No profile picture, no recent experience. Her startup dissolved 5 years ago. The mentor? Fraud charges. Company liquidated. She had nowhere left to go. I called HR, asked them to flag an incoming applicant named Clara Mitchell. Then I waited. 3 days later, her application arrived. Marketing assistant. Overqualified, desperate to hide it. Her resume was dressed in pretense. Outdated titles, gaps stretched into consulting. I almost admired the attempt. Almost. I scheduled the interview myself. 9 a.m. Tuesday. Executive office, top floor. That morning, I stood by the window as she walked in. Still graceful, still rehearsed, but thinner now, like time had been feeding on her. "Mr. Hayes," she said, voice trembling slightly. "It's been a long time." I nodded. It has. Her eyes darted around, catching the weight of the space. My name on the glass wall, the awards, the silence that pressed down between us. I let it linger. "So," I said finally, "you're looking for a job." She smiled, rehearsed and small. "Yes, just trying to get back on my feet." Back then, I would have asked if she was okay. Now, I just looked at her and saw a story without an ending. Until now. I offered her coffee. She took it with both hands like it was warmth she hadn't felt in years. "I read your application," I said. "You've been through a lot." Her gaze dropped. "Yeah, things didn't go as planned. I made some bad choices." She didn't have to say his name. I saw it in her eyes, the ghost of that mentor, the man she'd left me for. "I'm just looking for a chance," she whispered, "a place to start again." I studied her, the way one studies a puzzle they've already solved. "You know," I said softly, "I remember what you told me when you left." She blinked. "What did I say?" "That you needed to focus on your career." Her lips parted slightly. A flicker of regret passed across her face, quick, involuntary. "And did you?" I asked. She hesitated. I thought I did, but I guess I was wrong. I leaned forward, calm, precise. You weren't wrong. You just bet on the wrong career. The silence after that was thick enough to taste. I stood, walked to the window. The city glared back, cold glass and ambition. You're hired, I said. She looked up, startled. Really? Yes, I said. You already did. Confusion, a pause, then the words sank in. You already did, I repeated. 7 years ago. When you left me for your career, you gave mine. Every sleepless night, every contract signed, every risk taken. I owe it to that moment. Her face drained of color. I didn't mean to. I know, I said, cutting her off gently. But you did. You taught me what happens when love becomes conditional. I turned back to her. Now, you'll start under Miss Lowell in admin support, entry level. You'll learn humility before ambition. Her lips trembled. Please, I didn't come here for pity. And you won't get any, I said quietly. I walked to the door, opened it. Welcome to the company, Clara. She stood there, motionless. Then she nodded, eyes wet but unblinking, and walked out. Her heels clicked down the hall, sharp, uneven, like guilt trying to find its rhythm again. She lasted 3 weeks, resigned without a word, left her badge on the desk beside a cold cup of coffee and a note that only said, I'm sorry. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. Some nights I still see her face in my office window, reflected faintly against the skyline. Not out of longing, just memory. People ask how I stayed motivated all these years. I tell them the truth. Pain is the most efficient teacher. And when they ask if I've forgiven her, I smile. I hired her.